Morning, Javier. So nice for you to join us. Thank you so much for making the time. You work for a fantastic and really well-established company called Zennio, not one that we know much about in the UK. Could you tell us what it is and what you do?
Yes, well, I think the first, to start with Zennio, is to understand Zennio's mission. We are a smart building company. We aim to make a smart building technology accessible to everybody. And we understand the smart building as something that has to be both practical and sustainable at the same time. And so that's what we aim to achieve. We first stepped into the hospitality industry, or came up with the first hospitality solutions some 7 years ago. We noticed since the beginning there was a need for technological solutions that enhanced the guest experience, and also that supported the management of the buildings themselves. We saw the guests are looking for comfort, hoteliers are looking to optimize processes, and we had to find a way to bring this together. So we started developing full control solutions to embrace this, to optimize the building management, to reduce energy waste, and to limit the environmental footprint, while also enhancing the guest experience. So we understood since the beginning, guest experience and guest comfort is something that cannot be compromised in hospitality. For example, with the COVID situation, we've been able to provide solutions focusing in how a hotel can reduce touch points, looking towards the reopening of the hospitality industry. So the guests are actually able to control everything from their own mobile devices, to the point of not even needing a physical key to access the room, or just opening the room with their mobile phone.
You mentioned a few pointers there: sustainability, trust. Those are huge issues as we come out of COVID, and I know that businesses are actively looking at how they can support that, as well as guest experience. Everyone is looking for a personal experience, and businesses are looking at how they can use technology to really free up their staff to do the caring and the serving part of hospitality, which is so important, and create that memorable experience. Now, interestingly, you are, like me, not originally from the UK, but I'm fascinated by the fact that you approached this giant business and suggested that they come over to the UK and establish offices here at a time when a lot of people saw Brexit as an opportunity to leave. So what opportunity did you see, and why?
Well, I actually saw it as an opportunity to come. I had some experience with technology, with building control, with the smart technologies. When I moved here, I had just finished my master in finance, which is why I moved to London as the city of finance. And that was early 2019, so beginning of last year. And I had been living here for some 3-4 months before approaching Zennio. And one thing I noticed is the fear around Brexit. Although in Europe, in continental Europe, it was at a maximum. People was very concerned about Brexit. Here in the UK, it was somehow vanishing. I believe people here understood the reality of Brexit, and that Brexit was actually something that was going to happen much faster than people in Europe did. And so despite the initial shock here 3 years ago, those 3 years had been kind of enough for people to get prepared to assimilate that the UK, that we were living, the European Union. I think there was a very impulsive reaction at the beginning regarding Brexit. Something for companies like, if the UK is leaving the European Union, then the European Union or Europe has to leave the UK. But looking at it in a more logical or more reasonable way, about the UK people, thinking about the UK industries, the hospitality industry in the UK, what it will need is more local support, as Europe will no longer be able to provide that support, or not in the same way as before. People still live here, companies are still here, the UK still has a lot to offer to the world. I mean, it's leaving the European Union, not vanishing from the earth. So I think we really have to be here. There's a still UK without the European Union, so we have to be here.
Absolutely, and I suppose it's also, you know, a technology company that focuses on hospitality. Now, I appreciate that Spain is well ahead of us. I think you mentioned sort of 16 years ahead of us when it comes to using technology actively to enhance the hospitality industry. For us in the UK, that has been a bit more of a slow burn. We are often intimidated by technology, and we look at it that it's a personal service. We have to be giving a guest a personal service. Now, do you think that this is the right time for the UK to be embracing technology? And do you think Spain and the lessons you've learned can help?
Yeah, definitely. I think when looking at Spain and hospitality, there are a couple of things to look at. As the World Tourism Organization, in English, I think it's actually UNWTO, looking at the data, they place Spain as the second country in the world in number of foreign visitors, only after France. And again, second in the world in total income of the tourist sector, and now only after the much bigger United States. This represents directly 15% of the Spain's GDP. So you can imagine how important hospitality is for us and how carefully in Spain hospitality has to be looked after. But also looking at it the other way around, how everything aiming to support the hospitality industry and providing solutions to the hospitality industry is looked at from the hospitality point of view. I have to admit it did take a while to introduce technology to the hospitality industry at the beginning, also because it takes time to build these trust relationships. It's not something happening from one day to another. And actually, that's why we are here in the UK, to try to build this trust. But once the first steps were taken and trust towards technology, or from the hospitality industry towards technology, has only increased in the past years. There was an initial fear, which I believe is kind of what still happens here in the UK. And many times this fear was based in the belief that technology is here to replace human interaction, to replace hospitality. When in fact it's the opposite. We aim to simplify the daily tasks and processes, and what we look after is to allow staff to focus in the important thing, in service and caring for the guests, which we believe is what builds that loyalty and trust. As a matter of fact, in Spain, and how Spain is or looks like it's probably ahead other countries, not just the UK, but a lot of other countries in technology and hospitality. There is in Spain this major association for hoteliers, and almost 16 years ago, that was by the end of 2004, they created something called the Hospitality Technology Institute. And this is a body meant to build bridges between technology and hospitality. These bridges allow not only to build this trust relationship, which is needed, but also to build an understanding between both industries. Technology needs to understand what needs the hospitality industry has in order to provide solutions. And the hospitality industry needs to understand the limits and the possibilities of technology. And of course, hospitality needs to see technology working to try, in order to trust it. There has to be something that can be seen in order to actually believe it really works. 16 years after this association was created, or this Hospitality Technology Institute, this trust of the hospitality sector towards the technology industry has proven to last, and it's still working and growing year after year. So I think this is something to look at.
I totally agree. And I suppose the other thing that's changed is that the traveler has changed. So people going to hotels are very much more aware of their carbon footprint. They're aware of the sustainability, and technology can help reassure those guests. They can help build that loyalty with the hotel if they're able to see. And I know some of your applications can show in your room what it is that you're using from water and energy perspective, but also again on a touch point, regardless of COVID, to be able to control everything from your mobile phone, so that you can personalize your experience. And that's very much what the hospitality, like you say, is seeing change and needing to then get the technology to help support the guests that they are receiving. So totally agreed that is the opportunity and that is the change. Now we're always looking at how we can learn lessons from other countries, how we can share knowledge, and that's something we're massively passionate about. And especially now, I mean, you have personally and professionally got a foot in the UK and in Spain. Now, how do you see post-COVID or the COVID experience, as well as the rebuilding? How do you see the differences or similarities between the two countries? And what do you think the UK can learn or is embracing similarly to Spain?
Yeah, one thing I've seen in both countries, I think both countries have done this very well, actually. They have proven how important it is for people from different fields of expertise, people who had nothing in common, different industries, how important it is to bring these people together and to work together and to make them work together. We've seen, for example, how construction companies have been able to build up hospitals advised by doctors, supported by all types of different companies and individuals. And they've built these hospitals out of nowhere in a matter of days and weeks. Also how hotels, as you would say, have now approached technology to guarantee a safe reopening for their guests in a way that hadn't been done before in many places. And this has helped build relationships that otherwise would probably have taken years and years to develop. And we've seen how this has been built, how by joining and sharing this knowledge, these relationships have been built. So I think this is the most important lesson to be learned here, how by sharing knowledge, by defining common objectives, by drawing a bigger picture together, not each or not alone, but bringing all the knowledge together to make the bigger picture and to draw the bigger picture together, that has proven to build long-lasting trust relationships. And I think that's the most important lesson to be learned here.
Absolutely agreed. And you personally, how has lockdown been for you? You have been sort of stuck in the UK away from your mother home. A lot of people have experienced it in very different ways. Some have looked at it actually changing their thinking, changing their behaviors in their personal and their professional lives. How has it impacted on you and you and your wife?
Well, on a personal point of view, we moved to an apartment in London just in January. So just a couple of months prior to the lockdown. We had got married in May last year. So we had been married now for a year and a couple of months. Long story short, I have learned a lesson which I think I'll never forget, and is how I have to think through anniversary gifts a little bit more. We had been talking about getting a barbecue. She's looking at me right now for the backyard.
I promote barbecues, yes.
So we had been talking about getting one for ourselves. And it kind of made sense to do this for the summer. So I showed up on my anniversary, on my first wedding anniversary, with a barbecue. Yeah, you can probably see how not amazed she was.
Absolutely.
But well, in the end, she liked it, and we kind of used it quite a lot, so so that was good. But yeah, I have to think that probably more carefully next time. On a more professional view, I think the lockdown has shown, at least for us as a company, how work from home is actually okay, and how it we could probably look to embrace it in the future. Probably not full time, but definitely partially on some days a week or a couple of weeks a month, something like that. And at the same time, how much we human beings actually need to socialize and connect with each other. As I was saying before, how we can share knowledge together. I think this knowledge share between industries and between people from different backgrounds and expert fields of expertise, I think this has proven to be the major game changer, and we should totally aim to embrace this knowledge share.
Absolutely agreed. I couldn't have said it better. And yes, I do think maybe anniversary number 2 needs a bit more. More definitely diamonds. But no, I agree that it is a great time. I think, you know, we as a industry keep talking about this being a potential reset for us. We are aware that behaviors and practices potentially in the past haven't been on point, but now this is a reset. Now we have the power to be able to be embracing things differently, be treating people differently, and be creating experiences differently. And as hospitality, we have got such power, but also such responsibility to be able to do that. And the opportunity is now. So I totally agree. And I thank you so much for your time and for joining me.
Absolute pleasure.
I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Enjoy the barbecue. I hope the weather improves.
Yeah. Let's see if we get a little bit of sun this weekend.
See you soon.
Bye. Thank you, Lauren, for your time. Thank you very much.